Okay, so let's start. I think we have a small group, but maybe we will have new participants joining the webinar while we are talking. So thank you very much once again for joining us this morning for this webinar on the SDG 12.1.1 pilot reporting and country needs assessment in preparation for the high-level political forum on sustainable development that will start on Monday already. So I'm Fabienne from the Secretariat. You know me already probably. I'm in charge of regional and national activities in the Secretariat, and well, I've been working with you on this pilot reporting exercise that I'm going to present today. So really quickly, I will give you a very short introduction. I will then summarize and present the results of that pilot reporting and country needs assessment. I will also explain how this has been informing the process of developing the One Planet for One Planet strategy for the next 5 years, and what outreach opportunities we have in the context of HLPF next week and the week after, and how all the information that is being provided by the 10 national focal points for this pilot reporting are also being featured and highlighted at HLPF in order to recognize all the efforts of the countries with regards to national implementation of. So just a really short introduction about the One Planet network that you probably you are familiar with. Of course, it's a network that has formed over the last 5 years to implement the 10-year framework of programs on sustainable consumption and production adopted in 2012 at Rio. And it is meant to serve as the main implementation mechanism for Sustainable Development Goal 12, which is itself dedicated to sustainable consumption and production patterns. This is an overview of that network, all the partners that the network gathers, and among them, of course, the 10 national focal points, nominated national focal points. We have 130 countries that have a focal point. In the network, we also have many UN agencies. In total, we have 20 UN agencies that are part of an interagency coordination group for the implementation of this NRC. And we have, of course, also all the program partners, more than 600 of them, representing governments, representing civil society, the business sector, academia. So it's really a global multi-stakeholder partnership in the end, this network that has very concrete objectives in common and that is delivering on the ground as well together. So we have at the moment 6 sectoral and thematic programs. As you know, they are focused on high impact sectors and on key cross-cutting areas, including for the sectors food systems, buildings and construction, tourism, and with regards to the cross-cutting themes or instruments, public procurement, lifestyle and education, and consumer information. And so this entire network is working to accelerate the shift to sustainable consumption and production through many initiatives and actions, from the policy aspects to outreach and communication, training, monitoring and reporting, developing technical tools. So it's delivering through a mix of instruments and initiatives, as well as through a strengthened cooperation among all those stakeholders, so that together they can have a bigger impact on the way consumption production patterns are shaped. So why are we first interested in national SDG policies under SDG 12? Actually, it's a very, very important aspect of all the work that is being done through that network and globally and by countries. It is the indicator through which we are going to measure the progress achieved in the implementation of the 10-year framework of programs. So it is really key. And as you know, the implementation of the 10-year framework of programs is the first target of SDG 12 on sustainable consumption and production patterns. So we are really at the core of Agenda 2030, and this, the monitoring of national SDG policies is a core instrument to really track progress on the 10-year framework and progress on SDG globally. At the moment, the success indicator for target 12.1 for the 10OFC reads, as you can see on the screen, but there is a new formulation that is being considered, and that will be even more inclusive, and that will read as follows. So, number of governments and other organizations developing, adopting, or implementing, or in process of policy instruments aimed at supporting the shift to SDG. So it will be broader and more inclusive. But the spirit is the same, and the idea is still to monitor progress through national SDG policy. So why did we organize the pilot reporting in 2017-2018? First, because, well, as the Secretariat of the 10-year framework of programs, it made sense for us to take the lead in piloting the methodology for the indicator of success under target 12.1, and also to provide the reference data for the official UN Secretary General's report on the SDGs. We also conducted that pilot reporting to inform the midterm review of the 10-year framework of programs and the development of the strategy for the next 5 years, one planet for one planet. It was important to have to start building that baseline of national SDG policies and have an even better understanding of where we stand with national SDG policies to have a strategy that also takes that reality into account and can respond to where countries stand at the moment. The objective was, of course, also to support the actors and stakeholders, and primarily countries and the national focal points, to report, to demonstrate, to communicate progress. We know that there are a lot of things that are being done, lots of initiatives, policies, instruments that are being developed and implemented. So this is also a way to gather that information and give visibility to all those initiatives at national level. It's also, at least in future probably, something that will help further mobilize political and financial support. And also identify some opportunities for replication, scaling up, strengthening cooperation. Basically, we're sharing that information to share our experience and inspire others. There are many areas where we can learn from each other, and this can also be a channel for South-South cooperation, North-North cooperation, South-South cooperation. So countries really exchanging their experience and helping each other in moving forward. The indicator is, as I explained, the indicator of successful target, the first target of SDG 12. It's also one of the indicators of the success framework, indicators of success framework of the 10OFC. So this framework has been developed with a task force and representatives of all the actors of the one-sided network, and it's being used to constantly monitor progress in the implementation of the 10-year framework and in achieving the objective that is supporting or accelerating the shift to sustainable consumption and production. So as you can see, we have 13 indicators at the output level, outcome level, and impact level. And the SDG policy instrument is at the outcome level. It's in there with a blue circle. But what I wanted also to highlight is the fact that through the reporting on SDG 12.1.1 with the pilot, but in the future it will simply become reporting cycle. Through that reporting, we are also collecting information on other really key indicators of where SCP is going. So, for instance, we are collecting information on coordination mechanisms for SCP at national level. We are also collecting information on changes in practice because in many ways, the initiatives or the instruments, the policies that governments put in place trigger changes in practice. Take, for instance, the example of regulatory tools or instruments. They change the rules, and therefore they are supposed to change the practice, the behaviors, or the way we do things. We are also collecting information on the finance for SCP when governments also provide information on the investments or the budgeting that go with those policies and initiatives. We are able to collect information and assess more or less what's the current investment in SCP globally. And we are also collecting information, or at least that's also our intention for the next cycle, to collect as much as possible information about the impacts of those policies and initiatives, the impacts in terms of resource efficiency, of environmental impact, and human well-being, to, in the end, understand also what are the most successful instruments, depending on which indicator you are looking at. It's also a way to see what can be replicated for what type of objective and so forth, and better understand the benefits of those policies and instruments for the environment, but also in terms of job creation, in terms of health, or in terms of gender equality. Those are the three human well-being indicators that have been included in that framework. So through that reporting, which is really, really key, I mean, that knowledge is absolutely essential to understand how we can better support countries in their efforts for SCP and what are the benefits, what are the impacts, what can we maybe strengthen or replicate or bring at a bigger scale. This knowledge is essential. Without it, it's difficult to really have a strategic approach for SCP. So I'm saying this also to acknowledge the efforts of the national focal point for that pilot reporting, which was really impressive. Because in a few weeks, we got the participation of 71 countries plus the European Union reporting. And you can see here the map, although I know that it's very small and you can't really read it, but it's just showing all those countries that have taken part in the pilot reporting and reported at least one key policy, and some countries have actually reported many, many more. But what is important, what matters is that there is this engagement of the countries to really share information and start putting all this knowledge together to have an overview and a really good understanding of what is being done and what may be feasible also in the future. This map, you can find it in the Planet Network, One Planet Network Midterm Magazine. There is a link at the bottom of the page. So I really encourage you to look at that report because it shows also and it summarizes the results of that pilot reporting and and highlight the inputs of each country that participates in the report. We had in total 303 reported policies and instruments. We had a really good share between micro policies and policy instruments per se, 44 and 43%, and 13% of what was reported were coordination mechanisms for SDG at national level. In terms of the policy instruments, so what was reported, we had three categories of instruments that were reported: regulatory and legal instruments, which represented 46% of what was reported in total. Voluntary and self-regulation schemes, so such as codes of conduct or partnerships, they represented also 43% of what was reported, so it's almost equally shared. And economic and financial instruments such as taxes, incentives, grants, so forth. So those instruments, on the other hand, were quite few, only 11% of everything that was reported, showing that maybe that's an area where we can bring more support. We can maybe look into how to support countries in developing such instruments. There is, I believe, a strong recognition of the importance of those instruments as being really important to trigger the shift to sustainable consumption and production at different levels. So it's a good indication maybe of where more efforts are needed, including from the One Planet Network, and how it can support that effort. What was reported, 75% was said to be under implementation. So we are really doing it, and that also has some implications with regards to the information we currently have on impacts of those policies, which is at the moment quite limited. We could see also that there are various approaches to mainstreaming SCP. So countries can address SCP through macro policies specifically focused on SCP, for instance, through national action plans or strategies on sustainable consumption and production. They can also mainstream SCP by including it as a key priority or a key objective into other macro policies, for instance, sustainable development strategies or green growth strategies or development strategies. So that's basically the most common way of mainstreaming SDG, actually, even though it's not a big difference with the other approaches. But it's quite a common approach. And SDG can also be addressed and mainstreamed through sectoral macro policies as well, for instance, on energy, on tourism, on construction, and all the major sectors that are concerned. As I explained, so we asked about the coordination mechanisms for SCP at the national level. And here, well, only 26 countries out of the 71 have reported such a mechanism, showing maybe also here that some strength and support may be needed to encourage further coordination at the national level and a more integrated and cohesive approach to SCP. What it means is that those mechanisms can bring together the ministries that are concerned, that need to be engaged to have an effective shift. It's the Ministry of Environment very often that has the lead in those mechanisms, but there is a need to engage in of finance, of industry, development, health, education, you name it. I mean, almost all ministries should actually be engaged. We have examples of countries where it is actually almost the case. So the idea is to have an interministerial dialogue and cooperation through those mechanisms. Some of them would also include stakeholders to ensure the inclusiveness of the process of developing and implementing SCP policies. What we could see also is that at the moment, the coordination mechanisms are more often used for information sharing and knowledge sharing on SCP, or for identifying ad hoc opportunities for cooperation, or to consult stakeholders. And they are less often used to actually design some specific policies, or to coordinate implementation, or to monitor, evaluate those policies. So maybe that was something that can be explored in the future, and how to strengthen those mechanisms and maybe their mandate with regards to SCP policy. What we learned also through the pilot reporting is that there are some sectors that are more often addressed through SCP, and maybe still kind of a conventional approach to sustainable consumption and production, which makes total sense, because we have a 25 years history of efforts towards sustainable consumption and production. And the key sectors really of national economies, like energy, waste and chemicals, the industrial sector, and key sectors like agriculture and fisheries, are really at the top of the sectors that are being addressed to mainstream SCP. On the other hand, we have also other key sectors, such as buildings and construction, that are maybe less often mentioned, at least in the pilot reporting, but we have to keep in mind the fact that who provided information also has an influence on the results, obviously. So ministries of infrastructures or building constructions were in general less often consulted for the pilot reporting, which may be why we have less instruments in that sector reflected. So, and the same for the tourism sector, for instance. Industries are less often consulted, and therefore it's a sector that is less not as well reflected in the results as others like energy. On the other hand, with the Ministry of Energy, for instance, is present in all the coordination mechanisms that were reported. So it's a ministry that is kind of naturally engaged in the efforts of sustainable consumption and production. And some other industries, some other ministries would be less, maybe obviously less obvious in those mechanisms. So, for instance, ministries, the Ministry of Urban Development, for instance, were less consulted only in 18% of the case. So my point is just to say that this raises questions, this shows some trends, and some really, I think, highlights the key sectors at the moment, but also shows that in the future we should try to engage even more the other ministries, including those that are not necessarily the ones we think about immediately when we think about SCP, so that we really have a comprehensive picture of everything that countries are doing that is contributing to sustainable consumption and production. Wanted also to show you this result on how what was reported relates to the other SDGs in Agenda 2030. So we asked for each of the policy and instrument reported, what are the 5 SDGs that are the most relevant to this? And that's the aggregated results. So we can see here again that the SDGs that are related to those sectors I just mentioned are really at the top. So as the most relevant SDG was SDG 13 on climate change, followed by the SDG 9 on industry innovation, SDG 11 on cities, SDG 7 on energy. And at the bottom of the pyramid, we can see that the SDGs are said to be more social SDGs, are really not often seen as relevant to the policies and instruments on SDG that countries are putting in place. So, for instance, SDG 10 on inequalities was never mentioned as a relevant SDG for those policies or instruments. Or SDG 15 on peace and governance, also very rarely mentioned. SDG 5 on gender as well, rarely mentioned. Even education, even SDG 1 on poverty were way less often mentioned than, for instance, SDG 13. So that also we called, with all the precaution needed, a social gap maybe. We feel that of course, the environmental, but also the economic benefits of sustainable consumption and production are very well understood, and there are lots of efforts to really maximize those benefits and identify the best way of having positive impacts on the environment and the economy. But maybe the social aspect of it needs to be looked at, and that maybe gives us some indication also of where we could provide more support as a network. So that all this that I just said and all the information we have collected through the pilot reporting, together with initiatives that we had conducted 3 years ago, including a pilot survey in 2015 that we had done also on national STP policies. So this contributes to building a global baseline of STP policies that you can see here on the map. We have in dark blue the countries that have reported on SDG 12.1.1, and in light blue other countries that had either reported in 2015 through the pilot survey or through other channels. And it shows us that really there is a positive trend for national STP policies, and many countries have already at least started taking action that contribute. We have, with all those sources of information, identified 45 countries with a national STP policy, including national action plans, which is also an impressive figure. The pilot reporting of 2017-2018 also shows us, like I just said, a positive trend in the sense that the number of those policies has been increasing since 2002, with a peak in 2012-2016, which may be, in a way, countries acting upon their commitments, the commitment that was made through the 10-year framework of program, the commitment of Agenda 2030. So it's also a very good sign that there is a willingness to take action. I was mentioning earlier the fact that 75% of what was reported is under implementation, and we can see that not all of those instruments and policies could be measured in terms of impact. So one of the reasons, of course, is that it's under implementation, so maybe those impacts have not been measured yet. But there is still room for improvement, though, because less than 50% of everything that was reported actually includes a mechanism to measure impact. So that's also an area where maybe the One Planet Network can further support in how we monitor, how we measure impact, what indicators, what for, how to use it. We can see also here in the impacts, the actual impacts that are being measured by those policies and instruments, that do include an impact measurement mechanism. That environmental impacts are very, very often measured and looked at, such as reduction of air, soil, and water pollutants, waste reduction, GHG emissions. Look at energy use efficiency also a lot, water use efficiency. All this is also, of course, very coherent with what I said before about the sectors, the relevant sectors, or the sectors that are addressing SDG, energy, agriculture, and so forth. And on the other hand, again, we can see that the social and economic indicators, health, decent work, gender, are way less often being measured. The impacts are less. So again, that's something we could look at. So this was the summary of the main observations we could draw from the pilot reporting. The next cycle will happen at the end of 2019 and early 2020. And by then, we will be working on improving the methodology that we have used for the pilot reporting based on those results, based on the feedback from the national focal points, based on the direction we want to go also for the next 5 years as in the new strategy. So we'll be working on this, and we'll be engaging the national focal points also on this. We'll have an online platform for reporting in the future, which will be more elaborate than the one that we have currently. And we are looking at options to also give the possibility to national focal points while they are reporting on the specific policy or instrument to publish that information on the OnePlanet network if they want to promote that policy or that instrument. So instead of having to do it twice, you would use one platform to both report and also communicate on your country's initiative. Just a few words about the country needs assessment exercise that we started this year and that will be continuing. So far we collected responses from 28 countries, but we will reach out to all the other national focal points to also get their feedback. The objective of that assessment exercise was to understand a little bit better the national focal points and their conditions of work when it comes to the senior framework or SCP in general. So we could see that for nearly 40% of them, they can dedicate between 10 and 25% of their time. It's not much, but it's not too little either. On the other hand, we have 1/3 who can only dedicate less than 10% of their time. So it really shows that we have to be as relevant as possible and targeted and make sure that we do things that are actually useful and helping them in their task despite the very limited time they have. We also wanted to ask about what they thought their country's sectoral priorities were, and here also we find energy, agriculture, waste, buildings, and construction industry. So it's always it's also coherent with what we collected through the reporting. Their programs of interest. Well, sustainable buildings and construction was first to come, and consumer information, food systems, procurement, lifestyles, and then tourism. And well, we could continue the dialogue to better understand why this order of priority and what exactly would be needed. What country needs first, according to national focal points, is stakeholder engagement and coordination at national level. So that also echoes with what I was explaining about coordination mechanisms through the pilot reporting. Further coordination across ministries, the business sector, creating the demand for SCP policies, and also practical cases to demonstrate the benefits of SCP. So we need to quantify, make the case economically, and also, like I explained, socially, where there is more work to be done to really understand the benefits and what we can expect as positive impacts from the shift to it. What national focal points need is information, training, and tools, such as, again, case studies and cost-benefits analysis. So it's really to help them communicate also on SCP and make the case internally in their own country. So this is showing you where the results of the pilot reporting have been presented. So we had a very brief synthesis in the UN Secretary General report on Sustainable Development Goals 2018. You will all have the presentation, so you'll be able to click on the link. But that report is online, and you can consult it. So it's also another reason why this reporting is really key, is because it is going to serve as the data source for the official monitoring of SDG implementation through that annual report of the Secretary General. So it's really the work that we are doing together is essential for that too. We have also presented more at length the conclusions and some case studies from the reporting in our One Planet Network Midterm magazine, which is showing progress over the last 5 years, and in our progress report on the 10 YFG through the ECOSOC, which is the official report to HLPF. So all those efforts and information we have collected have also contributed to the development of the new 5-year strategy for the implementation of the same framework, which is called One Plan for One Planet. So this shows you the mission, the vision, the strategy objective that we want to achieve. Is very ambitious, and basically what this network wants to do by 2022 is to really serve as the primary source of support and to cohesively lead the shift to SCP together. This shows you the strategic objectives. There are 4 of them that you can look at more closely when reading the strategy itself. The first objective is to be this effective implementation mechanism for SDG 12 and for SCP across Agenda 2030. I have, within those objectives, selected a number of key points that are more relevant or directly relevant to the national focal points and to countries. So what the strategy says is that the objective is to support national implementation of SCP relevant policies based on the expertise and resources of the network, to also recognize the existing work by governments and organizations in the network, including for dissemination and replication, and that's why the reporting is also a way for countries to showcase what they are doing and to further communicate on it. Ensure coordination at country level implementation, so that also brings us back to the coordination mechanisms, interministerial dialogues, and so forth, and stakeholder engagement. Engage directly with high-level decision makers and policy makers to increase political support to SCP, and well, we will start doing this at HLPF on Monday, as I will explain. Strengthen the trust fund to implement SDG 12, engage financial institutions, development banks, development agencies. So really to bring the whole effort to another scale. And monitor progress to identify emerging trends, key challenge gaps, but also best practices, instruments that work, and so forth. So HLPF, starting on Monday next week, it is our year. It's the year of sustainable consumption and production at HLPF, and this for several reasons. HLPF will be reviewing SDG 12 together with 4 other SDGs. We will have the midterm review of the 10-year framework. We'll have the launching of the new strategy, and all the network mobilized to really demonstrate all the progress that's been achieved, including by countries and through this pilot reporting that we did together. So this is a selection of One Planet Network events. Many more actually, but those are, let's say, some highlights. We have a big exhibition there at HLPF, which is called Camp One Planet. And that is right at the entrance of the Secretariat building that will have a lot of visibility. It's a very interactive exhibition with multimedia material. We have a partnership with Microsoft for that, with an SCP forest. Every program will have a tree and will feature some great initiatives or tools that they have developed. We'll also have a tree on the mainstreaming SCP, and we'll be highlighting case studies from countries of all the regions. So it will be really a very lively exhibition with different spots. We'll also have some 360 videos on trust fund projects. So if you're going to New York, if you're around, I really encourage you please visit this exhibition. And we'll be really, really happy to see you there. We are going to launch the strategy on the 10th of July during a side event in the Secretariat building as well. So, of course, if you're there, please join us, be there with us. We're organizing an SDG learning and training workshop on system thinking and policy planning for SDG 12. We're doing this with UNITAR, with the International Resource Panel, and with the Sustainable Food Systems and Consumer Information Program. A ministerial breakfast, so that refers to engaging at high level decision makers. We are organizing this ministerial breakfast on the 17th of July on invitation only. And we have now about 25 high-level representatives confirmed, 15 countries, 7 UN agencies represented at the high level as well, and two companies and 2 NGOs as well represented at a high level. So this will really raise the profile of the One Planet Network and SDG 12 at HLPF. We are having also a side event on SCP Science and Policy Action on the 18th of July, which will also be a high-level side event. If you're there in New York, you can register to participate in that event that we are organizing with the International Resource Panel as well. We have an application that you can download really easily on your mobile phone that you can also access online. And all the SDG 12 related events during HLPF from the official program and also from the on-the-side events are available there. Of course, all the One Planet Network events are there. You'll have all the information, and you'll even be able to actually organize your own agenda at HLPF. So don't hesitate to use that really nice tool to know more about what is happening there. And that's it for the presentation. Thank you very much for your attention. I would like now to invite you to ask questions if you have any. So please raise your hand in case you would like to step in, or if you have any question on everything I just presented. So any question on the next reporting cycle, for instance, or on any on the strategy, or please feel free. Otherwise, we will, in any case, remain at your disposal to answer any question you may have following that presentation that I know is quite dense. So it's a lot of information to digest and to look at. We will be sending an email with the link to the presentation. You'll be able to download the PDF, and you'll have all the links to all the documents and information that I presented. So I see no hand raised, so thank you very much for your participation. And well, hoping to see some of you in New York, hopefully. Thank you very much once again. Bye.